This. Welcome everyone to how product leaders use AI for stakeholder communications. As I've already mentioned, please go ahead and share in the chat where you're from, what part of the world you're calling in from. Myself, I'm in Seattle, Washington, up in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. Also, I think this is always a great opportunity to network with others. Feel free to share your LinkedIn profile and network with others. Right on, let's jump into this. For you, so you all know the presentation and my demo, I'll make sure all that's done and wrapped up before the bottom of the hour within 30 minutes. I'm going to stay online for as long as there are questions, right? So even if we don't have a lot of Q&A time at the end, I'm going to stay around. So feel free to stick around if you want to hear any of the Q&A as well. And if you have questions, along the way, go ahead and put them into chat, but realize that the chat's kind of moving sometimes a little fast for me. During Q&A, I'll scroll back through and take a look. Okay. All right. So if you are a product leader or your product managers, and if you are trying to save time by updating all of your stakeholders in one fell swoop at one time, whether it's in one comprehensive email, one comprehensive Slack message, or one sort of all-encompassing meeting, please stop doing that. I know it's an effective use of time, but it's a really ineffective way of updating stakeholders. Don't make the same mistakes I've made. I made a lot of those mistakes in my career. And so what ends up happening is stakeholders hear things differently. So I say our new AI feature is launched with 85% accuracy and processes requests in under 2 seconds. What the CEO hears is, I don't know, something about AI, but what's the revenue impact? And are we beating the competition? The VP of engineering hears only 85%. That's a 15% error rate. And what's the load testing data for that 2-second claim? The head of sales hears, awesome. Can I promise 100% accuracy to customers? And what do you mean by 2 seconds? And our marketing hears, we have AI. Time to call it groundbreaking, revolutionary, and industry leading. Issue a press release. So what ultimately is the case here, folks, is that every stakeholder interprets things differently, and they all have a different focus. The reality is, we all know stakeholder communications are vital. They're incredibly important to the success of our products. We need to make sure everybody's on board, everybody's aligned, but each stakeholder needs an update specifically tuned for them. I always advise product leaders and product managers, update your stakeholders individually. But who's got time for that? We're busy as can be. We don't have time for that. Well, this is where AI comes in. And so this is what I'm going to share with you today. First, though, let's talk about a framework. Pretty simple, but it's important to help organize our thinking so that we don't go into this kind of willy-nilly and we go into it in a structured and repeatable way. Draft your key updates, product updates. What's the key updates you have to share? Make sure you're defining each of those stakeholder needs. What do they like? What do they focus on? What do they not care about? Select an appropriate AI tool. Typically, in this case, it's going to be one of your large LLMs. Write an effective prompt, and then validate and refine the output. So what's an effective prompt look like, right? What are the key components of an effective stakeholder update prompt? First, of course, the product update. Who's the target stakeholder? Are there any specific requirements you have? Keep it less than a page. Don't write in bullet points or only write in bullet points, right? What are your specific requirements? Again, tune to that stakeholder. Who are they? What is what makes them tick? The persona, that CEO or that marketing head. What are the things about them that are important for the AI to understand so they can tune the message, so it can tune the message? And then what's the current context you're operating in, right? Maybe you're close to launch, maybe you're in budget season. What's the context, which is going to help shape the message as well? So let's go write some stakeholder updates, yeah? All right, I am going to switch some sharing around if you bear with me a few seconds. I'm going to start with what's the product update, right? So I'm starting with, here's the baseline, right? So as a product manager, I've got a lot of things I want to update my stakeholders on, okay? And so this is a mobile payment platform. I've got some key updates about some features. I've got some delivery timeline updates, right? Various features, are they on track? Some things moved around between quarters. I've got some great recent insights from the customers or the market, right? We're getting some feedback, some strong demand. 3 enterprise customers are requesting multi-currency support. So I've got some things there. I've got technical and development updates, right? So what's the load testing showing? What's this new API version coming up, right? So I have technical updates to provide. I've also got go-to-market and launch updates. I've got risks and challenges we're always monitoring. And likely, if you're a product manager, you're always needing more resources. And I love this product update because it's like all over the place, but this is the life we live as product people. As product leaders, this is the day-to-day of your product managers, right? They are dealing with engineering and marketing and sales and customer support and all of these different functions and trying to kind of keep it all balanced. So I'm going to use this as my starting point, as my product update. So let me go ahead and switch my sharing, if you will, now over to Claude. So we're going to use Claude for this demo. Okay. So here I am. And what I'm going to do, let me pull up the prompts that I have. So I've got a couple of prompts that I'm going to use. And rather than sitting there watching me type them or dictate them into the computer, I'm just going to do some copy paste. And I'll make sure you see what these are as well. So my first prompt is going to be this. And also, I'm going to make sure that I don't forget to drop the PDF of that product update we just looked at. So I just dropped that PDF in. What's this prompt say? Based on the attached product update, can you please create a one-page high-level executive summary that I can send to my CEO? His primary focus areas are going to be around revenue, schedule, and risks. Right? Insert there what your CEO focuses on. Please output this as an artifact. I'll explain that in a moment. And don't make anything up, but only use details in the attached product update. AI is tuned to make us happy, to give us what we're looking for. And so sometimes if you're giving it some limited information and asking it to re-articulate it based on different audiences, like we do here, it has a habit sometimes of trying to fill in blanks. So it's important to at least be mindful of that. And if you don't include that in the prompt, that's fine, but just make sure you're reading the output before you're clicking send. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go. Okay. Now, when I asked it to do it as an artifact, it's going to put it on the right side there. And I like that format better. If not, it often will do it inline. So this is a preference for me, if you like that or not. Okay, so it's cruising along. Let's see. I'll help create an executive summary. Excellent. I've created an executive summary that focuses on the 3 key areas your CEO is interested in. It's structured to highlight the most critical information while maintaining readability. It's all drawn from the update document. Do you want me to make any adjustments? Okay, let's just take a look at it. Great. So we've got executive summary, the date, which was the date of my product update. Okay, revenue and growth indicators. Awesome. That's going to be the first thing he's going to ask and look for. Okay, we've got some schedule updates for him. Perfect. He's always going to be worried about that. And critical risks. And then immediate action items as well. Okay, so this is very tight, very concise, and something that I can maybe spend a minute or two reviewing, making sure it's accurate and correct, and then putting this into an email and sending this off to my CEO. And I can do the same thing for the head of marketing, and I can do the same thing for the head of sales, and I can do the same thing for others. It starts to get a little repetitive though. And there's got to be a little bit of a better way that we can try to maybe, automate some of this. So I'm going to go ahead and do something that Claude has, a feature that Claude has, which is I'm going to go ahead and create a project. In Claude, projects are they are standing areas that you can query that will have a set of instructions that are always relevant to them and documents that you can add to it. So it's always keeping kind of a running memory. Okay. So for example, I have a project for the course that I teach, right? And so anytime I'm doing new things with it, I kind of use that project to query. So that's kind of what a project is. So here we go. We're going to create a new project, and I'm going to call this Stakeholder Updates. All right. What am I trying to achieve? Quick and effective stakeholder updates. Okay, we're going to create the project. That's it. Now, you see I have my normal query here I can ask. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add on the right here some project knowledge. I could drop documents in here. So I could drop like the product brief or the product roadmap or previous updates, right? So that this project has a history of the product we're working on. I'm not going to do that now, but I am going to add some specific instructions. I don't want to add text content, apologies. What I want to do is set project instructions. Okay. And so again, so you don't have to sit and watch me type, I've got a long set of instructions that I'll read to you once I copy and paste them in here. So let's take a look at what I've got. I have a number of key stakeholders that I need to keep apprised of my progress on my products. Whenever I provide a product update, I need to create a personalized briefs for each of these stakeholders, highlighting aspects of the product update that are most important and relevant to them. The four stakeholders that I update on a regular basis are the CEO, the head of engineering, the head of marketing, and the head of sales. The CEO doesn't read long documents, so any brief for him needs to be concise and needs to focus on the most important items. He's particularly interested in understanding revenue opportunity and risks. He also insists that changes from the last update are clearly indicated. Head of engineering is fine with longer updates, so the briefs for him should be more detailed. His primary areas of focus are going to be on technical issues, roadmap, schedule, and prioritization. And I would encourage you, when you're setting these instructions, to add as much detail about these persons, these people that you're updating, as you want. Right? Anything about kind of what makes them tick and things like that. The head of marketing, she wants to understand any impacts to go to market as well as any opportunities for publicity. And she likes to have copy that she can use for external messaging. Right. I know that when I always update her, she asks, hey, where's some copy I can use? So I'm going to just preempt that and provide that from the start. And the head of sales needs two parts to her updates because she's always asking me, okay, what's the information that I can share with my sales team? And what can they tell their customers, right? So what exactly can her team can and can't say to customers? Okay. I say, when you provide these four unique briefs, please only use the information in the product update I provide you. Don't make anything up to fill in any unknown areas. If there are unknown areas, please let me know and I can see if I have information to provide more details about those. Please output these briefs as an artifact. I mentioned that before, that's my preference, so I can edit and share them more easily. Also, please provide me with a few questions I should expect to receive from each of the stakeholders so I can plan ahead and be prepared with responses. Okay, this is also a really important one because this shows that as a product manager, you're always thinking ahead. You're always considering other things. And so much of our effectiveness as product managers, and this is important for you product leaders because you're measured by the success and effectiveness of your product managers. But so much of our effectiveness as product managers is on how much people can trust and rely on us. And so the more we show that we're mindful and thinking ahead, the better we are. So I'm going to save those instructions. Perfect. And now I'm going to just do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my product update. I'm going to drop it in here. And I'm going to say, please create stakeholder updates based on this attached product update. Okay. Now that was a simple prompt, but it's going back to those instructions. Okay, good. So it's creating an artifact. Here we go. Here's the CEO brief. Key changes since the last update. Excellent. He always asks about that. Revenue and risks. Perfect. Okay, there's the engineering brief. I'm going to let this run and then I'll scroll back so we can look at it. Here comes the marketing brief running past and the sales brief. Customer communication guidelines. Oh, that's excellent. Okay, and then we got some stuff happening on the left. Let's take a look at what we got. So we have the CEO brief, which is concise, short. He doesn't like to read a lot and has the key things he always looks for. Beautiful. The engineering brief, we can be a little bit longer. Technical status, some roadmap updates, which is important to make sure he's aligned with the engineering teams, and some resource requirements that we're asking for that are specific to engineering. Marketing brief, go-to-market updates we asked about, some external communication opportunities, right? So in March, we're launching this. We've got strong beta results. These are things that the marketing head can go ahead and, make some noise around. Some PR planning. Excellent. Potential messaging angles. This is great. This is kind of I asked for copy specifically. I might want to go back and say, hey, can I get some specific copy that I can share? But this gives us something we can share with the head of marketing. And the sales brief, perfect. Here's what I can distribute here's what she'll distribute to the sales team. And here's what is approved to be shared and not approved to be shared with customers. You can share performance metrics and a launch date, right? Don't share that we've got some memory leak issues. Don't share that we have some iOS concerns, right? Things like that. And timeline updates for customer discussion. So great, I can say, here's what's coming in Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay. So with just a simple prompt from a detailed product update, I've now got all my stakeholder updates individually that I can copy and paste into emails or Slack or whatever your preferred mode of communication is. And then over here on the left, it gave us some questions. The CEO is likely going to ask, what's the revenue impact of delaying multi-currency to Q3? Good. How does our analytics offering compare to competitors? Okay, I'm going to make sure I have a good answer for that. The head of engineering is going to say, how are we mitigating this IOC risk? This iOS risk. And what's the timeline for hiring additional QA engineers? All right, the head of marketing is going to ask things like, how can we leverage the beta metrics in our March launch campaign? So now I've got updates I can send to them. I've anticipated questions they may come back with. If I want, I can actually even put in responses to those questions as well. So be even more preemptive. And just like that, in a matter of, I don't know, 5 minutes, I went from a product update to updating all of my stakeholders individually based on what they want to hear and what they want to see. All right, let me switch back on my sharing to finish up the slides that we've got. All right. So what are the takeaways from this quick, but I hope effective and interesting demo? Stakeholder communications have to be tailored to the audience. I can't tell you early in my career about meetings that completely devolved because engineering decided to go down a rabbit hole on something and the sales lead was basically tuned out and my CEO got up and left, right? Not effective. This is a really good task for AI. There's a new book that came out a few months ago, Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. He's a professor at Wharton University, at University of Pennsylvania, and the business school there. And he talks about different kinds of tasks. There's just me tasks. Those are things that I'm just going to do. AI is not going to get involved. There's automated tasks, things that we could maybe even just give AI entirely, and we don't even spot check. And then there's delegated tasks, this kind of middle area, which is where can AI help us? And we delegate something to them, much like we might delegate to an intern or somebody else on the team. And then we check their work before we complete it. This is a perfect example of a task that's a delegated task. Proofread before hitting send. Do not just copy paste, please. Don't assume that AI is going to get you 100% of the way there. Assume that it's going to get you 75 to 85% of the way there. Do a little proofreading, make sure it's right. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're putting in a bad prompt or a very weak prompt, like, hey, update this for my stakeholders, you're going to get garbage out. Use robust prompts that provide context, that provide personas. And if you don't want to enter it in the prompts every time, go ahead and create a project like I just did within Claude. AI is not going to take a product manager's job, but AI plus a product manager is going to take a product manager's job. So my encouragement to all of you, and you're already predisposed for this because you're here today, is make sure you're starting to use AI on a regular basis. Make sure you're understanding how to incorporate it into your daily work, how to incorporate it into the product lifecycle work you're doing, into the steps you're taking, and how to look at different ways of using it, because you're going to want to stay in front of this curve that's really just washing through every industry right now. And I hope that today's demo was something you could just, when you log off, go and do yourself. Hopefully in the next, maybe today or tomorrow, all of you have a stakeholder update you need to provide. If you don't, you probably should, because we should be updating our stakeholders really frequently. Again, giving them that confidence. So take some updates around your product, go create some robust prompts, and do this today. If you want to learn things like this and more, specifically for product leaders, but also for aspiring product leaders who are product managers, you want to be able to master AI tools, lead AI teams, and build AI products, please consider looking at my course, AI for Product Leaders. I've got a couple of cohorts coming up in March and in April. This QR code will take you to the sign-up page along with the promo code for $100 off. This class is primarily designed for product leaders, or as I mentioned, senior level product managers who are either aspiring to or very close to becoming product leaders, and startup founders who are looking to bring on eventually a product team. What do you get in the course? You get 6 interactive live sessions with lots more demos like this. Each of those sessions are 90 minutes. It's over a 3-week span of time. You get 15 in-depth asynchronous lessons, 4 projects that we do to apply your learnings to your environment today. You get direct access to me throughout the entire course. You'll get a one-on-one session with me in preparation for your final project, which can be used to really talk about anything. We can talk about your final project or anything that you want to talk about. And you'll get a course certificate upon completion. Things you're going to learn: how to use AI to improve stakeholder communications. You pretty much learn that today, but you're going to learn that and more. How to go from idea to market validation to functional requirements to a working prototype. Right? We'll do that in one of the classes. How to create a plan for you and your team to become AI capable. How to update your day-to-day way of working so you can enable AI features into your products, because enabling AI features is not the same as enabling non-AI features. There are some different things we have to do as product managers. And how to stay capable, AI capable going forward, right? So, okay, great, but this stuff's changing so fast, and on a daily or weekly basis, how do I stay abreast of this while still holding down a day job? Or if I'm not employed, while still holding down the day job of looking for a day job? Couple other things. Reimbursement. If you look at these courses are almost always reimbursable by your employers. If you want, there's a link to an email template and a Slack template. You can just copy paste depending on your mode of communication in the FAQs on my course landing page. Go to the bottom. I think the second FAQ has a link to these 2 templates. Maven provides a guarantee, and I also will provide a guarantee. If within the first 2 live sessions, if you're like, this isn't right for me, this isn't what I thought it would be, or this is too easy for me or too advanced for me, no problem. I'll go ahead and give you a full refund. A little bit about me. I skipped that at the beginning. So kind of who am I and what would you get as me as your teacher? I'm a UCLA grad. I went to mechanical engineering school for my bachelor's and my master's many, many years ago. I also went back and got my MBA from UCLA. So kind of a Bruin through and through. I've worked at a number of large tech companies in the past: Sony, Qualcomm, T-Mobile, ProQuest, Here Technologies. I also teach. In addition to teaching these courses at Maven, I'm an adjunct professor of strategy in the business schools at both University of Washington and Seattle University, where I teach graduate and undergraduate business school students about strategy. I teach a lot, and the reason I get asked a lot why, and I do it because I love helping product managers and product leaders get the most out of what, for my career and for me, is the best job in the world. I'm going to take a breath and open it up for Q&A. Feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to put it in the chat. And I'm going to scroll back through and see if any I missed. I'll leave this slide up for a minute or two if you want to grab the QR code, and then I'll go just to full video in a second after that. So many great places people are calling in from. Oh, I love that. Please don't make anything up. Yeah, thanks. Jessica, you love that I say please. Yeah, I don't know. I think of AI as a person sitting next to me. So yeah, I do say please. Sometimes I'll even be like, oh, that was great. Thank you. And yeah. From your prompt, how do you define risk? Does Claude already understand what you mean by risk? My company doesn't use the language of risk, so there's a little bit of a rub when I use it. Yeah, Claude's going to have an understanding of the word risk already. Plus, in my product update, I may have cited a few things. If you find that the language that your company uses is different, put that in the project, right? Put that in there. Say that, hey, when I'm saying this, it's really kind of, this is how we refer to it. That's totally fine. It's going to have a more general knowledge based on all of the documents that it has learned from. Okay, what else do we have? This just saved 4 hours of back and forth work already. I love it. Great. If you're not doing it, you need to start. Um, In our platform, yeah, okay, so yeah, there's a different way. There's a lot of tools out there. Founder of Iterate's on right now. They're a great tool as well for doing a lot of these very product specific activities. Um, yes, you can use other AI tools. You could use Copilot, you could use Gemini, you could use ChatGPT. Personally, I like Claude the best. I think that it is time and time again continues to consistently give me the best responses, the best writing style for me at least. So whenever I'm asking it to create something that is going to be shared as a written document, I'll tend to use Claude. I think it's also the best thought partner. I'll use Chat GPT quite a bit, sometimes to compare, but also for like analytics and things like that. It's really strong at that. I will also use Perplexity. I don't use Gemini that much, not all that impressed with it, but these things change all the time. So, the thing I love thinking about is, I think Ethan Mollick in this book says this, the AI you watched me demo on is the worst AI you will ever see, right? Because tomorrow it's going to be better. Next week it's going to be better. And so we're only going up from here. So if you're like, well, that was pretty good, okay, it's going to get better. So just think about that. Um, I have a stakeholder update meeting in 1 hour. Yes, go ahead. Think about those updates. Personalize them for each stakeholder. Yes, I will. The recording will be shared. I'll share the slides and I'll share the prompts. Um, oh yeah, what would be similar prompts for stakeholders that like really concise and very high level updates? How to get the balance? Yeah, that takes a little bit of, I think, maybe some back and forth. I don't have the full, enough time to really demo. I might say, well, that's too detailed or that's way too high level. So what you'll find, the best way to interact with AI isn't ask and request and you're done. It's ask, get something back, and then ask again and refine and have a conversation with it. And so I didn't show that because that takes a lot of time in these demos, but that's typically what I would do. Um, Interested in your thoughts on Chat PRD or any other tools used for leveling up as a PM, Claude versus Chat PRD. I love Chat PRD. There's another tool called Wisery that I really love. Those are both really great product tuned tools. And we actually look at both of those in the course as well. Kind of depends on what you need at what time. It pays to be polite, so when the machine uprising happens, they'll be nicer to you. Yeah, that's why I say please. Uh, Somebody added say that please and thank you actually gets you better results. There was some serious research done on this. Question from Dominique. Tagline, you say master AI tools, etc. Is it representative of the structure of your course? Is the third part building AI products part of your course? Yes. We talk about what does a product manager have to do differently when you're building AI products. So that is part of the course. If you have more questions about that, feel free to reach out to me directly. Feel free to look at the course landing page, which has a lot of details, including the syllabus. Giacomo, what would be the best command to ask it to translate in 2 or 3 languages? Can you confirm, Giacomo, are you talking about languages like marketing and sales and engineering speak, or are you talking about languages like Italian and English and French? Um, to create projects in Claude, do you need a paid subscription or is it free? That's a fantastic question. And thank you, Martin, for answering it. It's paid only. Yeah, so I'm showing you the paid version. Look, it's $20 a month. If it's going to save you a couple of hours a month or a week on stakeholder updates, probably something to think about seriously and, investing in. And heck, you can probably get it reimbursed as well. Um, Giacomo, English, German, French. Yeah, I think it would be just, including in that, I would say, I'd probably want to go back and forth to refine the stakeholder update in one language. And then when I'm done with it, when I'm like, yeah, that's good, then I would say something like, okay, go ahead and please translate this into the following three languages. Could I please share links of those tools? Yeah, chat PRD. I can. Yeah, I will do that. Let's see. I can probably look it up real quick right now. No, not easily without getting too distracted. Any questions out there? Any other questions? Jessica, how should we handle proprietary or business information when using AI tools? If we input this data into an AI, does that mean it's now out there and the LLM can use it globally? Great question. Thank you. The short answer is not really. Every one of these tools will give you the ability to say, yes, you can use my data for training, or no, you can't. Claude's the only one that doesn't have that because by default they don't. And I think if you want them to be able to, it's some sort of weird process. You have to email them or something. So they just by default won't use it. Um, and the thing is what they're doing is they're they're so again, if you say no, they're not going to use it. If you say yes, they're still just training on it to understand language and things like that. It's not like I could go in there and say, what are my competitors' plans? That they would have that and then be able to kind of regurgitate that back out. So I agree. There's a lot of sort of concern. I see a lot of businesses really kind of not sure about this. Uh, that's not a reason not to engage with AI, right? The risks are far less, in my estimation, than the benefits you get from it. And most companies are starting to realize that and trying to figure out how they can engage with it in a risk mitigated, not risk free, but a risk mitigated way. Um, oh, the dates of my coming courses. Yeah, let me just go ahead and share that screen again because that would imply that I've memorized it and I may not have. Yeah, so my next cohort's March 3rd and April 7th. They run for 3 weeks. We do two 90-minute sessions per week, plus some assignments. They're recorded, so if you can't attend one, you can watch it after. That's totally fine, and put it on high speed if you want. But they're great because that's where a lot of the sort of back and forth and questions and discussion with your fellow product managers and product leaders happens. Note if you're using GPT, outputting to the canvas might help with iterating on small parts of the stakeholder updates. I think that's comparable to me saying output this as an artifact in Claude. Yeah, thanks, Jason, for clarifying that. Appreciate it. Um, Other questions? Again, I'm going to stick around till we've answered them all. Feel free to unmute and ask if you want. Everyone's too shy. Is anyone out there? Uh, Sorry, I missed your reply. All right. So we still don't have one tool to rule them all. So we'll have to look at many of them and understand which one is best for which scenario. That's what you're trying to say. Yes? Not entirely. Let me clarify. We don't have one tool to rule them all, and I don't think we ever will. And I think that's actually ideal, right? I think we're going to want tools that are. I don't want the AI that I use for all my product management stuff to be the same AI that plans my vacation. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be specialties, right? And agents and things like that. Um, and so I do think as a practitioner, you have to kind of look at this a little bit. I don't think you have to try everything, right? Leave that to the folks who are invested in trying to help others, right? So leave that to people like me, right? Let me try these and then come back to you and say, here's the one you want to use, right? And that may change, right? 6 months from now, I may say, that one's not so good anymore. We'll use this one. So, and in terms of PM specialized tools, again, I think what I would say is I share in my course kind of a lot of different ones that are out there. We'll actually use one or two of them. I think it's really a function of many of those are going to be, your own company is going to have to sort of integrate them into their tech stack. So you may not even have the choice of which one to use. You may be able to influence that. But even so, I think, in some of the demos that we do in the course, you'll get a sense of which ones to use and which not to use and kind of what the benefits are. So I try to help with that so that you don't have to worry about that too much. Would I like to share with you if I have other courses out there now or other courses I'd like to do in the future? So this is the only course I have out there right now. I definitely have a couple others that I'm kind of workshopping. Um, and actually, I need to send a survey out, or if you want to give me a little feedback on the chat here. Um, I'm thinking about doing kind of a shorter or sort of a more condensed version of this, or maybe just part of it. So we focus on two things in my course right now. How do I use AI as a product manager? And how do I build AI as a product manager? And I'm thinking about maybe breaking those two apart, right? So what are all the things I should do as a product leader to make sure my product managers are using AI effectively, safely, and in the best way possible? And then I'm a product leader. What do I do to get my product managers and my team equipped to build AI into the product that we manage? So that's kind of one idea. Another idea that I'm workshopping is I don't think there's really good material out there to help people understand how to manage product managers. I feel like lots of us are a product manager and then we kind of eventually get promoted and we're told that we now are managing a few product managers in addition to product managing. And if your experience is like mine, you don't get any instruction, any training, anything. You're just kind of thrown in. And so if you're like me, yeah, you make a ton of mistakes. You screw it up a lot, and then over a multiple number of chances, you get better at it. I feel like that's an area that I'd love to help with. So we're working on a framework of kind of the different hats that a product leader has to wear, and so I'm thinking about a course around that. Um, so those are some of the courses that I'm considering right now. Um, Thanks. I'm glad this was an inspiring way to start your day. I appreciate that. Thanks for the compliment. How do we get the discounts? Yeah, there's the QR code. Again, that'll be in the recording you'll get. That'll also be in the slides. You can also just enter it in. There's a text field there. The promo code for this is LL dash stakeholder. LL for lightning lesson dash stakeholder. And that'll get you $100 off. And if you don't remember that or any of this stuff, reach out to me and I'll tell you what it is. Connection request. Yeah, absolutely. People, if you want to connect with me, please. I'm always looking to network with more and more product folks. Um, Gotta run. Thanks for staying. Thanks for your time, everyone. Right, for carving out time in your day to spend with me. I appreciate that. Sandra, de nada. Um, any other questions? Okay, so Alex, as someone who's a startup founder, I find myself in the PM role because we're still small. Yeah, the founder is usually the first PM. So you're not going to be managing multiple PMs anytime soon. That's okay. For the main focus right now is understanding which tools are out there and also which tools are best to use. Would I still recommend this for you? I think so because let's say you were a product leader managing a team. You still have to know this stuff. You still have to understand what you're doing. And look, I hope for you, Alex, that you find some success with the startup that you've got, and eventually you will bring on some folks. And so, how are you going to lead them? How are you going to bring them on board? How are you going to get them into the fold of the work that you're doing? So, I do think that even if you're not today managing a product management team, that the class still has an enormous amount of relevance. Lots of compliments. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I'm just trying to help and sharing some ideas and things like that. Thanks for joining. Any other questions out there? We've still got a handful of folks on the line. I saw some other great places people are joining in from. Connecticut, Bangladesh, Brazil. Love that. Dallas, Texas. Excellent. Cordoba, Argentina. London, Portugal. Uh, gosh, makes somebody who wants to travel all the time just dream. Paris, France. Ah, beautiful. Beautiful. Anything else, folks? All right, we're dwindling on numbers. That's okay. Thank you again for your time. Thanks for coming. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And I hope to see you soon, either in the class or on the next lightning lesson. Have a nice day, everyone, and have a good rest of your week.